Welcome to another episode of Shaken Not Stirred. I'm Daryl Eklund, the managing editor of Motocross Action magazine. In front of us, we have a 2005 Yamaha YZ250. She looks pretty, doesn't she? It sure didn't look like this when Jay Clark, who built this bike for us, looked like it. We're going to bring him on camera. He had a few issues with this when he first bought it. And then after him, we're going to get Dennis Stapleton come back for initial impression of this bike.
For MXA and fixing up this 2005 bike, we had a pretty tough case in front of us. This was kind of a worst case deal on this bike. This bike we bought, the engine was out of the bike and was missing a few parts. And that's one thing when the engine's out, we learned from other bike builds we've done. It's tough when you buy these bikes because you can't notice if everything's missing. One of the main pieces we knew that was severely damaged was the cylinder. On these bikes, the cylinders are very expensive stock. Luckily, we were able to get it repaired from Millennium. And then Tom Morgan, since we had it there, he went through the cylinder and head and cut them to match. Match that up with a V-Force reed cage, and that kind of takes care of the top of the motor. The lower end, one of the cases was actually cracked when we got it apart. Really set into our budget on this build, so we had to get a new case. There was no way to fix it. One of the bearings had actually pushed through. Got a new case and rebuilt the entire bottom end with our Wrench Rabbit kit with a Vertex piston, of course, and the cylinder and hot rods, crankshaft, all the bearings, all the pieces we need. We did the Henson clutch at the same time while we were there and changed all those pieces out. So with the engine all back together and assembled, the carburetor, go through and we clean it really good, and then of course put our jetting in. We reference the Pro Circuit website for a lot of those jetting specs, and they're usually very close to what you need. So staying close to the engine, the radiators were bent up and tweaked, which is very common on old bike builds. And radiators have gotten very expensive over the last few years, so we sent our radiators to ICW to straighten them out, and they also strengthen them up, which is really nice. So while we had the engine out, we kind of cleaned up the frame with Scotch-Brite, and we used some different cleaners. The swing arm, actually take it to a polisher guy we have out here in Southern California who can actually strip it down and polish it out. And the reason we mainly did the polish is because he gets all the nicks out of the swing arm because it was all beat up. And while we were all the way down, we were going to rebuild the brakes anyway, so we took the brake components, we stripped them down and took them to Faster USA, who's a good friend of ours, and he Cerakoted them to give them that cool factory look, and then rebuilt the brakes so that they have a really good all new feel. All Balls makes all those rebuild kits for the brake, master cylinders, and calipers, and have throttle cable and clutch cable, which of course we changed at the same time as well. All the bearings and seals have all been changed with PivotWorks kits and the linkage bearings, top shock bearing, swing arm bearings, all that stuff's been changed and greased and all ready to go. We have Scar foot pegs. We have Tusk wheels with oversized front rotor to give this thing a really updated look. This plastic is, Polysport makes an updated kit for this plastic, and you got DecalWorks custom graphics for us with our MXA logos. Travis at MotoSeat made us a really cool seat cover to match. One of the bigger things we did as modifications was the suspension. That's something you're always going to have to do, and Race Tech went through our suspension. The big note we did is the 2005 suspension is a little bit of the older style. We went with the 2011 YZ450 suspension. I found a good deal on eBay, and then Applied made us clamps to fit the 2011 forks. We have a lot of the Works connection bits that we like to use, clutch perch and levers, and we also added that Chirby skid plate down below to give us a really good look and protection on the bike. And then to finish it off, any two-stroke is going to sound good with an FMF pipe and silencer.
What's up, Motocross Action? Dennis Stapleton here. Overall, the suspension worked quite well. I had to take a turn off the shock to get the balance a little better, as it rode a little stink bug initially. Once I did that, the balance was a little better. The forks weren't as divey. The ruts are quite big out here for us right now, so key points, suspension's definitely got to be balanced. The motor that Tom Morgan did definitely had a lot more torque. Low end, kind of remind me of the KTM Husky brands that have a lot of torque. Did take away a little bit of the over-rev that the YZ specializes in. Was able to ride third gear quite a bit on this bike, where a standard YZ you would be in second gear. Things that I struggled a little bit with were under a heavy load. I had used the clutch a little more than I liked to shift from second to third. Once I figured out to ride this bike in third gear a little more, suspension and motor work real well together. The brakes work quite well. It's got some steel braided brake lines on it. Has a little bit of a spongy feel, more like a factory bike, but the brakes work quite well. I was able to drag the brakes through the turns. Overall, this YZ 250 two-stroke would still be competitive today at any local level for people maybe on a budget that could only afford to ride a two-stroke. This bike definitely would be in par to be able to race with a Husqvarna or KTM. One other thing that we did on the two-stroke, as the front ends are quite light on this, we went down to 11.5 pounds on the 33 front tire. It seemed to grip quite well today out here at Fox Raceway. If you're looking at social media, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. If you want to check out more upcoming videos and products tested, check out our YouTube channel. If you want to see features, updates, race reports, check out motocrossactionmag.com. And to see a full test on this bike, check out Motocross Action Mag in a store near you shortly.
Mm-hmm.